The billionaire hit the marble floor so hard the chandelier rattled above him. As his house help rushed in, the billionaire forced his breathing to slow, pretending to be unconscious, because somewhere in that mansion his family was about to walk in, and he needed to know if even one of them would care enough to kneel beside his dying body help. But no one came running. No one called out his name. No footsteps hurried toward him. And the silence that followed told him everything he needed to know. He bent down slowly, feeling the stiffness in his knees. "Is this what it's come to?" he whispered to himself. "A house full of people, yet no one hears me fall." As he reached for a piece of glass, Rosa rushed in, her eyes widening. "Sir, what happened?" she exclaimed, dropping to her knees and gently holding his arm to help him up. Mr. Donovan forced a weak smile. "Nothing, Rosa. Just a little accident. Thank you." Rosa looked him over with concern. "Are you feeling okay? You look pale." "I'm fine," he replied, though his voice lacked conviction, but she helped him to a chair anyway. "You shouldn't pick things like that up yourself. I'm here for a reason." He sighed heavily. "I know, Rosa. I know." Moments later, his phone buzzed on the table beside him. It was his eldest son, Ethan. A perfect time, he thought. Maybe this time Ethan was calling to check on him. He answered with a hopeful, "Hello, my boy." Ethan didn't return the warmth. "Dad, listen, I just wanted to remind you about the investment I asked you for last week. Have you thought about it?" Mr. Donovan's shoulders dropped. "Ethan, I thought maybe you were calling because I'm really in a tight spot, Dad. Can you help or not?" Ethan cut in, sounding annoyed. He rubbed his forehead. "I'm not feeling well today." There was a short pause before Ethan replied. "Well, if you're sick, all the more reason to settle things now before you forget." Something inside Mr. Donovan cracked. He swallowed his disappointment. "I'll think about it," he murmured, but the line had already gone dead. Rosa watched him quietly as she swept up the broken glass. "Your children, they don't visit you much anymore." He forced a small laugh that cracked midway. "They're busy. They have their own lives." "You deserve better," she said softly. He stared at her, her sincerity hitting him harder than his shattered glass ever could. "Do I?" he whispered. Hours passed and evening settled across the estate. The long dining table, set earlier for a family dinner, remained untouched. Plates of food had gone cold, waiting for guests who never arrived. One by one, his children sent excuses. "Dad, sorry, something came up. Traffic is crazy tonight. Can we do this next week?" He sat alone with the dim chandelier above him, flickering softly. He lifted his glass of water, then set it down again. His appetite had vanished, along with the illusion that he meant more than his wealth to them. When the clock struck 9, he finally blew out the candles. That was supposed to be his birthday dinner. The moment he rose from the table, his phone buzzed again. This time, it was his daughter, Chloe. He braced himself before answering. "Hello, sweetheart." Chloe's voice was cheerful. "Dad, listen, I saw online that the company stocks dropped a little today. Are you okay?" "You're calling about the company?" he asked quietly. "Well, yeah, I didn't want to bother you about the birthday thing, so I figured I'd just check in about business." He closed his eyes in pain. "Chloe, I waited for you." She hesitated. "I'm sorry, Dad, but you know how things are. Work has been crazy. My life is just so full right now." "And mine?" he asked. "Is mine empty?" "Dad," she sighed, "you're being dramatic." The call ended shortly after. He remained still, gripping the edge of the table until his knuckles turned white. The silence pressed down on him. It wasn't anger he felt, just a deep, aching hollowness. That night, his lawyer, Mr. Hayes, arrived after receiving a worried call from Rosa. "You look terrible," Mr. Hayes said bluntly as he removed his hat. "She told me you skipped dinner." Mr. Donovan shook his head. "I didn't skip it. No one came." Hayes looked at him with sympathy. "They'll regret this someday." "How do you know?" he asked. "They haven't regretted it the last 3 birthdays they missed?" The lawyer hesitated, then asked, "What do you want to do?" Mr. Donovan's voice cracked as he replied, "I want to know who loves me, and who loves my money. I can't go on like this, Hayes. I need to know the truth." "You're thinking of testing them?" Hayes said, stunned. "Yes," he whispered. "I'll fake being seriously sick. I'll see who shows up, who cares, who takes time. Who sacrifices? And if none of them do, then at least I'll know. Rosa stood at the doorway, tears in her eyes. Sir, please don't put yourself through more pain. Let them come when they choose. He turned to her. They don't choose, Rosa. That's the problem. The next day, the plan was put into motion. Mr. Donovan pretended to collapse in his bedroom, and Rosa made a frantic call to the family saying he had been taken to the hospital in critical condition. Within minutes, the reactions began. Ethan was the first to respond, though not in the way his father had hoped. He collapsed? Damn. Okay, but is this going to affect the will reading? Ethan asked bluntly. I need to know what I'm dealing with. Rosa, disgusted, hung up without answering. Chloe called next. Is he conscious? I have a spa appointment at 4. Should I reschedule? The youngest, Marcus, didn't even call. He simply texted, keep me updated. Not a single one of them asked what room he was in. Not one asked how he felt. Not one said they were coming immediately. Meanwhile, Rosa sat by his bedside holding his hand. Maybe they will come later, she whispered. But the look on his face said he knew better. He spent the night pretending to sleep, but his heart stayed wide awake. The next morning, the family was told that Mr. Donovan's condition had worsened. The message was crafted carefully, worded to provoke urgency. But urgency did not come. Instead, excuses flowed in like rain. Ethan called Rosa again. Look, I can stop by tonight maybe, but I've got a meeting this afternoon that's really important. Can't you keep him stable until then? Rosa clenched her jaw. He's your father. And he'll still be my father tonight, Ethan replied casually. Relax. Chloe left a short voice note dripping with irritation. Rosa, I told you, today is impossible for me. Why do you keep acting like I'm a bad daughter? I'll visit when I'm free. Hours passed. Not one of them walked through the hospital doors. Meanwhile, Mr. Donovan sat propped up in his bed, watching the sunlight crawl across the room. His voice trembled when he spoke to Mr. Hayes. They're not coming, Hayes. Not yet, the lawyer tried to reassure him, but the billionaire shook his head. No, not ever. By late afternoon, Rosa finally couldn't take it anymore. She stood beside his bed, eyes red. Sir, let me call them again. Maybe they didn't understand how bad it sounded. He looked at her with a sad smile. They understood perfectly. His voice lowered, thick with emotion. They just didn't care. He turned his face away, trying to hide the tears gathering in his eyes, but Rosa saw them. My children. I gave them everything, he whispered, his voice breaking. Everything. And they can't give me a single hour. She gently squeezed his hand. You gave them money, but you couldn't give them love for themselves. They chose who they wanted to be. He closed his eyes, absorbing her words like a painful truth he had avoided for too long. That evening, Mr. Hayes returned to finalize the next part of the plan. Are you ready? He asked quietly. Mr. Donovan inhaled deeply. Yes. If they don't care when I am sick, maybe they will show their true selves when they believe I'm gone. The announcement went out the next morning. Mr. Donovan had passed away in his sleep. What followed was immediate, faster than any reaction during his illness. His phone, which had remained quiet for days, began to explode with calls and messages, not from grief, not from love, from greed. Ethan's voice trembled, but not with sorrow. So, what happens now? The estate? The company? When do we discuss the will? Chloe called the lawyer directly. Does this mean the properties go to us three? Or is Mother's side of the family involved? I need clarity. Things are complicated. Marcus simply texted, let me know when we're signing stuff. Rosa dropped the phone onto the kitchen counter, disgusted. They didn't even ask where his body is, she said. Hayes nodded grimly. I've dealt with ugly behavior before, but this is something else. The funeral was scheduled for Friday. In the days leading up to it, family members arrived, not with mourning hearts, but with suitcases, moving through the estate as if they already owned it. Ethan tore through his father's office drawers looking for documents. All this paperwork. Dad never organized anything, he complained. Chloe wandered through the mansion, taking pictures of rooms. I might redesign this whole place or maybe sell it. Depends. Marcus invited 2 friends over to check out the mansion, laughing as they toured the property, drinks in hand. Rosa watched it all with quiet fury, her hands trembling as she washed dishes in the kitchen. "How can they do this in his house?" she asked Mr. Hayes. "They think he's not watching," Hayes whispered, "but he is." Friday arrived with a cold wind moving through the estate like a warning. The funeral hall was decorated beautifully, though none of the decorations were arranged by family. Rosa had done it all herself. She placed a single candle at the front beside his portrait, a photo where he was smiling, softly, unaware of how lonely he would become in his final years. Guests trickled in, some investors, some business partners, a few members of the community whose lives he had touched. They spoke in hushed tones about his kindness, his generosity, the countless people he had helped. And then his children arrived, wearing expensive black outfits, sunglasses, and practiced expressions of sorrow. Ethan whispered to Chloe, "Keep it together, cameras are here." Chloe nodded, touching up her makeup. "Don't worry, I can cry on cue." Rosa overheard them and felt her stomach twist in disgust. As the service began, the pastor spoke warmly about Mr. Donovan's life. But while others listened respectfully, Ethan scrolled through his phone, Marcus chewed gum, and Chloe whispered, "This is taking forever." Rosa sat alone in the back row, clutching a small bouquet of wildflowers she had handpicked that morning. Tears rolled down her cheeks silently. "He deserved better," she whispered. Then, just as the pastor said, "Let us bow our heads in honor of Mr. Donovan," a sound echoed through the hall. The heavy wooden doors slammed open. Every head snapped toward the entrance. Gasps filled the room. Someone screamed. Chloe dropped her purse. Marcus froze mid-stance. The sunglasses slid from Ethan's face. Because there, standing tall at the doorway, was Mr. Donovan, alive, breathing, looking directly at the family who had already buried him in their hearts. The hall erupted in shock. Guests rose to their feet. The lawyer stood frozen. Rosa clasped her hands over her mouth as tears of disbelief filled her eyes. Ethan stumbled forward. "Dad? Dad? Is that really you?" Mr. Donovan's voice carried through the room like thunder. "Yes, Ethan, it's me, alive, standing, watching." Chloe stepped backward, her face pale. This isn't funny. You scared us half to death." He stared at her. "Did I, or did you scare yourselves? With what you were hoping to gain?" Marcus shook his head in disbelief. "What is going on?" Mr. Donovan began walking toward the front, each step steady, powerful. "I was sick," he said. "I needed comfort, love, family. I received none of it." He paused, letting the silence grow heavy. "I listened to your conversations. I heard your questions, and every one of them was about money. Not once did any of you ask how I felt. Not once did you come." Ethan tried to defend himself. "Dad, we were busy." He cut him off sharply. "I was dying, Ethan," his voice cracked, "and you asked about the will." Chloe began to cry, forced tears, shaky and thin. "We didn't think you were that sick." "You didn't think at all," he replied icily. Then he turned to Rosa. She stood, trembling, tears falling freely. "You," he said softly, "mourned me before I was gone. You cared for me when I was alive. You cried real tears." Rosa shook her head. "Sir, I only did what anyone—" "No," he interrupted gently. "You did what family should." He faced the room again. "I know the truth now, and because of that truth, everything I own, everything I worked for, everything I built, will go to the only person who proved she loved me beyond my wealth." Ethan's jaw dropped. "Dad, you can't do that." "I just did," he replied. Chloe screamed, "She's the maid, she doesn't deserve—" He silenced her with a single look. "She deserves more than any of you." The room stayed frozen in stunned silence. Mr. Donovan took a deep breath and delivered his final words to them. "When you value money more than people, you lose both. But when you value people more than money, you gain everything." He turned to Rosa, offering his arm. She took it, still sobbing softly. And together, they walked out of the funeral that was never meant to be, leaving behind the family who never learned how to love him,